Conference Coach of the Year, he gets a bonus. Win Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year, he gets a bonus. Win. So I thought this one was interesting. I really thought this was interesting because they do have this in there this year. Play one or more NCAA football bowl subdivision team during non-conference season. So that's an interesting bonus to me, and that's a hefty bonus. That's a fat bonus. There's $40,000 bonus for him to play one or more NCAA football bowl subdivision FBS team during non-conference season. The reason I think that's interesting is because if I'm not mistaken, I don't necessarily think Bobby Kennedy like controls that. Now, obviously, if you're a long tenured head coach like Bobby Houck, like you're probably going to have some say in what FBS teams you're going to play down the road if you believe you're going to be there for a while. But like, I believe those decisions are decided in the athletic department. Like Ken Haslam, the AD, and people in the athletic department are deciding those decisions. But for them to put a decent, like it doesn't even say you have to win. It just says you have to play an FBS team and you get a hefty bonus. Like that's like, let's do the math on that. 40,000 bonus. So they're playing Oregon State this year. So that means they get a $40,000 bonus. Let's do 40 divided by 175. Did I do that math right? Is that 20%? Did I do that math right? That's 20% of his contract. That's pretty crazy, right? That's crazy. That's a fat bonus. I feel like that's a fat bonus. That's a fat bonus. Defeat one or more NCAA FCS teams during non-conference season that has been a qualifier. So I thought a couple of these with like the wins, I thought this was interesting. Defeat one or more NCAA football FCS team during the non-conference season that has been a qualifier in the FCS playoffs within the past 2 years. So if we look at Montana's football schedule, they play Drake. Drake has been a qualifier for the last 2 years. So if they're playing Drake this year, that means he hits that bonus. That's not a hefty bonus, but you get a bonus for that. And is it for each team that qualified, or is it defeat one or more? So you just got to defeat one or more. There's only one bonus in for that. So if you beat 2 in non-conference play, it's still the same bonus. At least that's how I'm reading it. But they play Southern Utah. They haven't been a playoff qualifier. They play Drake. They've been a playoff qualifier the last 2 years. Utah Tech, no. And Oregon State is an FBS opponent. So a decent amount of bonuses just in non-conference play alone. I think that's pretty interesting. Okay, this is another one. Defeat one or more FCS teams during the regular season that is ranked in the FCS top 25 in AFCA or stats poll at the time of competition. That is interesting because I know for certain that Coach Barnum at Portland State has said, like, I wonder if this is just like standard operating procedure to put in a coaching contract, because I remember specifically Coach Barnum, I believe this was last season, like it might have been at media days or it was sometime last season that Coach Barnum said, you know, he will specifically rank teams that he knows are on their schedule higher in the coaches poll because, you know, obviously beating ranked teams matters more. So just think about that. If you have like a contract escalator or a contract bonus in your contract that says if you beat a ranked team, you get a certain amount of money. Now, once again, it's not a hefty bonus in there, at least in Bobby Kennedy's contract, it's not a hefty bonus, but still it's interesting to hear how like coaches will kind of manipulate not necessarily manipulate because they only get one vote, but like do things specifically so that it'll benefit them, and obviously it'll benefit their pockets. I mean, who can say they wouldn't do that? I don't know. Obviously for wins, 9 wins and 10 wins, you get a bonus in there. That's good. Finish the regular season conference or co-champs, a bonus. Qualifying for the NCAA playoffs, a bonus. Advance to the second round. So this was interesting as well. Advancing to the second round, there's a bonus, but there's an additional bonus if you host the second round game. So same for the, is it for the first round? No, I didn't see just qualifying is there. Yeah, so, so winning, basically if you win your first round game, it says it in here, advance to the second round of FCS playoffs, either via round 1 win or via a bye directly to the second round. So basically it's a win bonus. If you win that first round game, you get a bonus. If host for the second round, add the following to the above. Advance to the quarterfinal round of the Division I playoffs. If host, add the above. So the bonuses get bigger and bigger as you go up in the playoffs. And obviously, advancing to the national championship, there's a bonus. And winning the Natty, there's a fat bonus in there. But interestingly enough, at least in the first year of this contract, the national championship bonus is only $10,000 less than the bonus that you get just for playing an FBS team. Interesting. Also considering that you don't get to control if or not you play a FBS opponent. I thought that was interesting. But I think this is a good contract, man. I think this is a good contract for Bobby Kennedy. I think he's got some room in there to make some extra money. Now, one thing I did think was interesting, like I've never looked at a coaching contract before like this, but one thing it says in here is performance incentives in effect February 4th, 2026, which is around when he took that job, through June 30th, 2027. So the first year of incentives are locked in just for 1 year. And then I don't know, maybe he negotiated, maybe this is just how they do it, but performance incentives in effect July 1, 2027. So I don't know if they're heightened. He gets more money, but next year, in the following year of the deal, the performance incentives go up. So I don't know. Do with that what you will.